Introducing an Adam and Eve story presented to you by stick figures because I can't draw. Now, for some of us, we may have heard this story either in passing or at church. However, not everyone has heard this story before. So, therefore, I want to summarize it a little bit. And to make it kind of fun or to add my own twist to it, I want to add my own pictures. So, here we go. So, in the beginning, God created the earth. And it was in the span of 7 days where on each day he had created something. And these pictures are going to go through those 7 days. Starting with day number 1. So on day number 1, God chose to create light and dark. Now, as you can see, for the light is just a circle in the whiteboard. That is because I don't have any light colors. So, just imagine that's like a bright white color. Alright, on day 2, God created the sky. On day 3, God created dry ground and the sea. On day 4, God created and decided that he needed 2 great lights, one to govern the daytime and one to govern the nighttime. And also in that nighttime, there were stars. So I drew the stars in blue because again, I don't have no real bright colors, aka they didn't have any in the store. And on the 5th day, God created a bunch of animals. Now this drawing specifically outlines how I can draw. So I was trying to draw a bird. Even though that says lion, I wasn't trying to draw a lion. Same with the ostrich. I was trying to draw a giraffe, but it turned more into looking like maybe an ostrich or a flamingo. But yeah, disregard the awfulness of the drawing and focus on the fact that on the 5th day, animals were created. And lastly, on the 6th day, God created Adam and Eve to govern over everything he has made over the last 5 days. Specifically, God made Adam first and Eve second. And interestingly enough, Eve was made out of a bone in Adam. God took it out when he was sleeping. Boom, 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 the more you know. Now, something to keep in mind, because I will be getting back to it later, is that God created Adam and Eve in his image. Now, after God created all of his creations over the 7 days, he had put them all in a place he called the Garden of Eden. Now, in the Garden of Eden were trees that provided fruit for Adam and Eve to eat. Firstly, God commanded that Adam, who was to govern all of the creations, he told him that you have all these trees that you can eat from. You can choose either or. Only do not eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. If you do so, you will surely die. Dun, dun, dun. One day, Eve was confronted by a serpent, aka the devil in disguise. And he wanted to convince Eve to eat upon the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now, in order to convince Eve to partake of the fruit on the tree of knowledge of good and evil, the serpent cleverly twisted the words of God. Now, I know in here it just says you want her, but that's only because it was much simpler than writing what the serpent actually said in the Bible. Now, what the serpent actually said was, did God really say he was going to die? And I think what really got her was him saying, now the only reason God told you not to partake of the fruit is because he knows that once you do, you will have the knowledge of good and evil. Thus, having the knowledge of God, thus making you better or equal to God. So once Eve was 100% convinced, she chose to partake upon the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Not only that, she decided to bring a piece of fruit to Adam for him to eat as well, in which he did. Once Adam and Eve decided to partake upon the fruit, they immediately gained the knowledge of evil, thus making them realize that they sinned against God. Therefore, they were ashamed of their behavior. They decided to run and hide from God. Whereas in the picture, I tried to show the little divide because that cube around them, and then God saying, Adam and Eve, where are y'all? Because they were ashamed and they were embarrassed. But of course, God eventually found them. And he had put a curse on Adam, which is why today we are born of sin. Alright, that's the story. Hey y'all, I want to come on here real quick to say thank y'all for watching. I truly appreciate each and every one of y'all. Hope y'all have a blessed day, as it is truly a blessing to be on this earth. I also want to tell y'all to stay tuned for part 2, where I go more on the mental health aspect of this story and things of that nature. So, thank y'all again. Deuces.